This week we're sailing on the Reflection, a ship from the luxury cruise line Celebrity.
And Celebrity has a reputation for having some really great food, or at least they used to.
Now, more recently, some of the food reviews on the ship haven't been that great, with several cruisers complaining that the food isn't what it used to be.
So in this video, we're going to find out what the food is really like sailing on this luxury cruise ship.
We're going to be taking you with us to our breakfast, lunches, dinners, and late night snacks. And along the way, we'll be rating our experiences and sharing our favorite and least favorite items.
And we're going to start it off with our first meal at the main buffet.
But first, we're going to do a quick recap of our embarkation. We got up at sunrise just in time to catch the Reflection, sailing into Port Everglades from our beachfront hotel. We completed our mandatory safety drill while on the way to the port and were quickly in line to board the ship. After dropping off our bags in our room, our first stop was the lunch buffet.
So we just sat down to enjoy our first meal here on the Reflection at the Ocean View Cafe, and considering the last cruise we sailed on was the Carnival Paradise, which had one of the least impressive buffets we've ever seen, I think we were both incredibly impressed with this one. The variety is much greater. It probably has 3 or 4 times the options that the Paradise had, and the quality looks really impressive as well. For this meal, I went with the roast beef, the egg salad, the green Thai chicken on some fried rice, and the chicken tikka masala.
I was really excited to see that they had a hummus and dip station as well as a premium cheese station. I went with red beet hummus, roasted artichoke, beets, asparagus, some pita bread, and a giant chunk of blue cheese.
So far, this cruise experience is off to a great start, but not everything on the buffet was great. For example, the roast beef was a little bit tough and overcooked. The pita bread was a little bit dry, but what we actually loved the most were the Indian and the Thai dishes. I was a little surprised that my favorite thing was actually the chicken tikka masala. On most cruise ships, when we have that dish, it tends to be a little bit dry and not super flavorful, but this was really flavorful and super tender.
My favorite dish had to be the Thai green curry chicken on their vegetable rice. It was just a little bit spicy but very flavorful, and the chicken was very tender.
So Jamie told me she was going back to the buffet to grab a piece of cake, and she came back with pretty much an entire dessert sampler, so why don't you tell them what you got?
It was too hard to choose just one. So we've got a blueberry cheesecake, carrot cake, a chocolate cake, Neapolitan, I'm not really sure what's in that one. And then these two are lemon meringue things from the gluten-free area.
All right, Jamie, after sampling 5 different types of desserts, I want to know if the quality was as good as the rest of the buffet and which one was your favorite.
I would say the quality is as good as the rest of the buffet, and I'm having a really hard time choosing a favorite because I like them all, but for different reasons. The chocolate one was really, really rich. The cheesecake had a really thick crust that I liked. The carrot cake, I really liked the orange sauce on it and the frosting. And this Neapolitan thing, I didn't know what to expect, and I still don't even know what's in it, but it's really good. And I really like the lemon flavoring in that lemon meringue thing.
So which is your favorite?
I can't choose a favorite. They're all really good.
Since Jamie couldn't pick a favorite dessert, I will. I actually thought my favorite was going to be the blueberry cheesecake, but it ended up being this Neapolitan thing. Like Jamie, I don't know exactly what's in it, but it is good. All right, Jamie, now that we've finished our first celebrity lunch, give us your overall rating.
So thinking about the variety, quality of food, and the fact that it wasn't busy at all, I'm going to give it a 9.
Ooh.
Now, I do expect the buffet to be more crowded later on in this cruise. We got on the ship early, so I doubt even half of the people are on it yet.
So like Jamie, I would give the variety of the food on the buffet a 9, but I'd probably give the quality a 7 because some of the food was great, but some of it was pretty average, so my overall rating is an 8. Now, if you're wondering what type of complimentary beverages you'll find on a celebrity cruise, you will find regular and decaf coffee, a variety of teas, and over here you'll find a beverage station that has a juice cocktail, a lemonade, a fruit punch, and an iced tea. We've really been enjoying this juice cocktail, but it is a little bit sweet, so we've been mixing it with iced tea, and it's been perfect.
As we show you a little bit more of what could be found on day 1 at the lunch buffet, we do have to mention that the beef stew, seafood paella, assorted cheeses, and fresh fruits and vegetables were also exceptional. After lunch, we spent the afternoon touring the spa, filming our room tour, which is going to be in our upcoming Reflections tour episode, and also checking out the pool during sail away. After that, we stopped by the buffet for a snack. Today they have strawberry and chocolate soft serve at the buffet.
Now, our dinner time on this cruise isn't scheduled until 8:15 each night, and if we're having lunch around noon, we're definitely going to have to grab some additional food sometime in between. Now, it's about 4:30 right now. We were starting to get a little bit hungry, and thankfully the buffet was still open. It doesn't have quite the variety as it did for lunch, but it did have one of the items that we were really wanting to try but forgot, and that is this beef stew, and it is absolutely fantastic. It is super tender. It just falls apart, and if I would have had that for lunch, I probably would have rated my lunch a 9.
After our mid-afternoon snack, we spent the evening catching some live music, visiting the shops, trying free samples at the liquor store, watching the bartenders at the martini bar, and checking out a live game show. And by the time 8:15 rolled around, it was time for our first dinner on the Reflection.
So this already feels much more elegant than the cruises we've been on lately.
If we were bigger wine drinkers, we'd probably find that to be really impressive. Like most cruise lines, the first thing they bring out for dinner is the bread. We got 3 different types to choose from, as well as 3 types of butter.
After trying all 3 of the breads, we would say that it is better than the bread we had on Carnival, but not near as good as the bread on MSC. But it does have the 3 different butters to choose from, so overall we'd give it a 7.
While the bread may not have been great, we had a feeling that our appetizers and entrees would be, as we recognized a few of our favorite dishes from our prior celebrity cruises.
So honestly, this right here is probably what excited me most about cruising on Celebrity again. This is their escargot appetizer, and I know it doesn't look that great, but from what I remember, it is amazing. We'll see if it's as good as I remember it to be. It tastes exactly how I remembered it. Still delicious. Still a 10 out of 10.
I went with the French onion soup. I remember it being delicious. Now this is very hearty. It's got this layer of cheese as well as a layer of bread, so it's going to be hard to eat gracefully. It is very good. I give it a 7 out of 10.
So I know this mushroom soup doesn't look like much, but from what I remember, it's really delicious to dip your bread in, so that's why I got that as well. So that tastes just as good as I remember it as well. I'd give it an 8 out of 10, and I do also have to mention that the bread's also really good dipped in the escargot butter.
So the waiter ended up taking Skylar's soup spoon, so instead of just asking for another spoon, he's just drinking it straight from the bowl.
What?
Now the first night here on the Reflection is prime rib night, so it's no surprise that we both order the prime rib, but later in the week we do plan to try a variety of dishes as well.
Now, I was the first one to try our prime rib, which was cooked to a perfect medium rare. And while you can't hear what I'm saying because we forgot to turn on my mic for this shot, I can assure you I loved it.
I agree with Jamie. It's very good. I'm trying to compare it to MSCs and Carnivals, which we both had pretty recently. I think it's fairly comparable to MSCs, which I think I gave a 9 out of 10, so I'll give this one a 9 out of 10 also.
After consulting with our waiter Dave on the best of the evening's dessert options, both of our selections arrived within minutes.
So for dessert, I ordered the chocolate cherry trifle. It's basically a chocolate mousse. I like that it's dense, but also kind of fluffy. I'm going to give it an 8.
I went with the New York cheesecake with a passion fruit topping. That cheesecake is very creamy. It's a little bit sweet, and the topping is tart. I'd give it an 8.
After a fantastic first dinner, we made our way to the Sky Lounge, where we enjoyed some live band karaoke before calling it a night.
So just stepped out on our balcony this morning and we saw this ferry. It's the ferry to Dry Tortugas National Park. That's definitely a place we've been wanting to go for a long time, and hopefully we'll take you to it on this channel someday soon.
But for now, we have another day of drinks and dining to show you on the Celebrity Reflection. And we're starting our second day off at Cafe El Baccio, a great spot to grab your morning coffee or some baked goods.
After a very big dinner last night, we decided to do a much lighter breakfast. So we are here at the coffee shop. This is where you can purchase espresso drinks for $4 or $5, but if you do have a drink package, those are included. This also does have complimentary pastries in the morning, which we're going to try some today. Skylar ordered the pistachio latte. I went with the caramel latte. We got a cherry roll, a poppy seed muffin, a Nutella croissant, and what's called the bakery item of the day. So we'll tell you what's inside shortly.
But before we try our baked goods, we'd have to test out about the coffee, which was creamy and flavorful without being overly sweet, but in our opinion, could have definitely used an extra shot of espresso.
All right, so I'm going to start off with the mystery item, which is what they call bakery of the day. No idea what's in here, but we'll find out. So I think it's apple in here. We'll give it a try. I actually like that quite a bit. I'm not like a huge fan of apples and things, but it's not overly sweet and it's really soft. It tastes really fresh. So yeah, I do like that.
I'm starting with the Nutella croissant. I didn't get any of the Nutella in that bite. So all the Nutella was in like one area, but that bite was really delicious.
Next, I'm going to try the poppy seed muffin. So I was expecting that to be a lemon poppy seed muffin. I don't know why it did just say poppy seed. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's also quite doughy, so I'd probably recommend passing on that one.
I also tried the lemon poppy seed muffin and I liked the doughy texture, so if you like doughy breads and pastries, I'd recommend trying it. Last, we've got the cherry roll to try. Surprisingly, I think this is my least favorite of the 4 we tried today.
Why?
The bread was quite chewy, kind of hard to bite through.
So today's breakfast is proof that me and Jamie do not always agree on everything, because her least favorite thing, the cherry roll, actually turned out to be my favorite. I loved it. But overall, I would say the breakfast experience here was pretty good, not great. I'd probably rate it about a 6 or so, but it is a really good option if you're looking for a quick breakfast or just a snack to enjoy with your morning coffee.
Now, I really love the atmosphere here and the fact that you don't have to go to a busy buffet or dining room to have a little bit for breakfast. So I would give the atmosphere about a 9, but as far as the food and coffee we tried, more like a 5. So I guess overall that's a 7 and I would come back.
After breakfast, we spent our morning filming the lower decks of the Reflection for our upcoming ship tour video, which will include the specialty restaurants. If you'd like to see a little bit more of each of these restaurants, as well as everything else this ship has to offer, be sure to check out that video when it's available. But for now, let's pick back up with our second lunch of the cruise.
Today we are eating at the Spa Cafe in the Solarium. It is complimentary. It is a much smaller buffet that offers healthy plates. We've got a pesto salad, a spinach salad, a lentil and cucumber salad, as well as fresh fruit.
Now, in addition to these complimentary lunch options, the Spa Cafe does offer fresh juices and smoothies for an extra charge, and it also offers some healthy complimentary breakfast items in the mornings. But getting back to our lunch, we had a lot of food to try.
Now, some of the items here at the Spa Cafe do get swiped up quickly, so you may have to wait a while if you want to try some of the more popular dishes. We eventually did get one of these salmon salads. They're definitely one of the more popular things, so I'm excited to try it. That is a pretty good salad. It definitely does taste healthy as well, but I think my favorite thing is still the pesto pasta salad.
Everything we tried today was pretty good. It all tasted healthy and fresh. My favorite also had to be that pesto pasta salad. Now, my overall rating for this experience, I'd give it a 7.
Like Jamie said, everything we tried here at the Spa Cafe did taste really healthy. Some of it was a little lacking in flavor, but none of it was bad. Overall, I think I'd probably give it about a 6 for flavor, but a 10 for convenience and healthiness. So my overall rating is an 8.
Now, after lunch, we went out and explored Key West for a couple of hours. This was not the highlight of the trip for Skylar because we had to walk a mile to get to the southernmost point in the continental United States and then stand in line in the sun to get one photo. After we got back on the ship, we watched sail away and then we spent some time on our balcony looking for flying fish. There's that one seagull that's been getting all the flying fish.
Once we cooled down, we got ready for our second dinner on the Reflection, enjoyed some live music in the foyer and ensemble lounge, and grabbed some drinks from the Sunset Bar. And since we got there at a time when it wasn't busy at all, the staff even invited us behind the bar. Next, we caught a show in the theater, and Skylar ordered one of his favorite beers at Cellar Masters before we made it back to the dining room for dinner.
It is night 2 for us in the main dining room. It seems like they might be scrambling a bit tonight. We don't have any silverware or napkins or water, but Skylar's happy because he has his beer that he brought from the bar, and I'm happy because we got our menu so we can order soon. We've got 3 different kinds of breads to try tonight, as well as 3 different butters.
So one thing I love about dining on Celebrity that I actually had forgotten I love about Celebrity is that the waitstaff is typically very honest and helpful. I actually ordered the duck tonight, and the waiter is like, well, I'll bring you the duck, duck, but I'll bring you the lamb too in case you don't like the duck. So I'm guessing the duck probably isn't that good, but I think I'm going to end up with both the lamb and the duck, and hopefully I'll at least like one of them.
For appetizers, Skylar ordered the salmon tartare, and I went with the shrimp cocktail. So I have gotten shrimp cocktail on prior celebrity cruises. I do remember the shrimps being a little bit bigger, but that was also like 4 years ago. They may be smaller, but they're still delicious. I'd give them an 8.
It is kind of crazy that we haven't sailed on Celebrity for like 4 years, but the menu seems to be pretty much the same as we remember. Most of these items we have had before, but I don't think I've ever had this salmon tartare, so I'm excited to try this one. So I'm always a little bit leery when I'm eating completely raw meat of any type, but this is very good. I haven't even gotten to the caviar part yet, but based on my first bite, I would give it an 8.
So let's go back to this dish. We later learned that caviar eggs are dark in color and come from wild sturgeon, while these bright orange eggs are called tobiko and actually come from flying fish, which ironically, we had just been watching off of our balcony a few hours prior. Now back to our dinner.
So as I mentioned earlier, I did end up with 2 entrees tonight, even though I was only planning on ordering one. The first one is the duck. I'm gonna try that one right now. So I was a little concerned based on the waiter's reaction to my order that the duck was actually going to be bad. It's not bad, but it's not great. I'd probably give it like a 6. Hopefully the lamb is better.
Now, I was really considering ordering either the cobia or the salmon tonight, or even the portobello mushroom, but I always love steak Diane, so we'll give this one a try. I'd say it was a good choice. The steak is very tender. I really like the sauce with the mushrooms, and I think I like this as much as the prime rib last night, so I'm going to give it a 9.
So now it's time to try the entree that I didn't actually order, but the waiter brought to me anyway. I do see why he recommended it. It's not gamey at all. The flavor is good. It's not as tender as Jamie's steak though, so I'd give it a 7. Overall, my dinner experience on the second night wasn't nearly as good as the first night, but it was still solid. Nothing was bad. Nothing was that great either. I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. But I know Jamie's going to give hers a better rating because she definitely out-ordered me.
Now, my steak Diane was by far the best thing we tried tonight, and I'm going to stick with my rating of a 9. Now, we are skipping dessert for now because we are going to go dancing, and then we're going to grab dessert later.
Our after-dinner activities included a visit to the silent disco, which is always one of my favorite activities on cruise ships. And while I danced the night away, Skylar struggled to find a song that he was actually willing to dance to, but eventually he found a winner. After a couple hours of dancing, we were finally ready for our dessert, which would take us back to the Ocean View Cafe.
So I decided to get some ice cream from the buffet for dessert. I got vanilla lychee and guava, and I couldn't find a spoon anywhere, so I guess I'll be eating it with a fork.
After working up a sweat at the disco, this complimentary ice cream hit the spot, so much so that Skylar gave it a 9 out of 10.
And I grabbed a red velvet cupcake from the coffee shop. So I think there's cream cheese frosting on top there. It's really creamy and it's not too sweet. The cake is a little bit dry, so for that, I'm going to give it a 6, but I'm still going to eat it. So the buffet experience this morning is not off to a good start. Those short lines that we experienced on the first day were nowhere to be found this morning. Everybody kind of seems confused as to where the lines stop and how it flows for the very popular station. So people are just waiting around, oftentimes in front of food that other people are trying to get. The pancake and waffle station, it was going backwards, so you'd have to get your toppings before you even got your pancakes and waffles, which didn't make sense at all. And for the made-to-order eggs and omelet stations, people are standing in front of other food waiting while their order is being made. So it just didn't flow very well. It took way too long to get the amount of food that we got this morning, and just wasn't a good experience so far.
We should also mention that when we were finally done standing in line inside to get our food, we couldn't find a spot inside anywhere, so as a result, we're sitting here outside where we do at least have some shade, but it's very windy. For breakfast today, I decided to keep it low carb. I did get an omelet from the made-to-order omelet station. This one has spinach, asparagus, mushrooms, a couple types of cheeses, and bacon in it. I also got some cold cuts, a couple different types of sausage, bacon, Canadian bacon, ham from the carving station, and sauteed mushrooms.
I went with watermelon, smoked salmon, a piece of French toast, a waffle, and orange butter. So I did enjoy everything I tried in the breakfast buffet today. Nothing was spectacular, but everything was pretty good. My favorite had to be the waffle with the orange butter. It had a really nice vanilla flavor to it. Now, overall, because of how long it took us to get our food and eventually find a place to sit, I'd have to give this experience a 5.
I do agree with Jamie. The food overall was really good. I didn't have a single thing I didn't like, although I'm still not sure the food was worth waiting in those lines. Overall, I think my favorite thing was probably that omelet. My least favorite thing, if I had to pick one, would probably be the bacon. It was just a little bit overcooked. And for an overall rating, I think I have to give it a 4 just because getting the food was such a nightmare.
While this dining experience was far from great, it wasn't because of the quality of food on the breakfast buffet. And we're going to take some time to show you a little more of what can be found at the Ocean View Cafe for breakfast before taking you to a new spot for lunch. After breakfast, we filmed the upper decks of our cruise tour where we had an amazing view of the bright blue waters at Bimini. Thankfully, we finished filming on the ship to have a couple hours to enjoy on the island, where we had this gorgeous section of beach nearly all to ourselves.
We didn't end up having much time at Bimini here after we got our tour filmed, but the water just looked so gorgeous we had to come out here for a bit. Skylar went out in the water, and I put my feet in. It feels really nice. How was it?
Pretty much perfect. The water's calm, it's super blue, it's clear, and the sand is soft all the way out there.
I'm so glad you encouraged me to get in because it felt really nice and it was so clear.
After some much-needed relaxation on Bimini, it was time to get back to the ship, where Celebrity always makes you feel special with little details like having refreshing flavored water and ice-cold towels upon returning from a port. We should also mention that Celebrity has the nicest public restrooms we have experienced of any of the cruise lines we've sailed on.
So earlier today we looked at the dinner menu and nothing really jumped out at us that we were excited to try, so we decided that instead throughout the rest of the day we're going to go to a couple different spots and have a little bit to eat. Starting with the Mast Grill, it is complimentary and offers made to order beef, turkey, and veggie burgers and hot dogs. Today I got a beef burger with cheese, bacon, and sauteed mushrooms. Now that's a pretty good burger for an easy option here on the ship. I don't think it's quite at the level of the burgers that we tried at the made-to-order station on Carnival's cruise ship recently, but it's still pretty good. I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie. It's not quite on the level of the Guy's Restaurant burgers on Carnival, but it is still really good. The meat is tender. The bun's nothing special, but it's fine. I'd probably give it a 7 as well. So I wanted to take a minute to address the complimentary coffee situation here on the Reflection. Now, the coffee isn't anywhere close to as good as on MSC, where you can actually get complimentary lattes out of their coffee machines, but it's way better than on Carnival, where the coffee was actually almost undrinkable. It was so watered down. This coffee falls somewhere in between. It is fairly strong. It's Lavazza coffee, which is pretty good quality, but you can't get lattes like on MSC. We have been mixing whipped cream, honey, and sometimes even ice cream into our coffee, and it has made it pretty good.
Since we'd be eating our dinner at the buffet on this day, it meant we wouldn't have to get dressed up for dinner, and that meant we'd have a little extra time to spend relaxing in the hot tub on the pool deck and in the solarium pool, which we had entirely to ourselves.
Skylar just told me he has 18 more laps before he might be hungry enough to get some more food. We have eaten a lot on this cruise. What are you doing? That wasn't 18.
What?
That wasn't 18.
I'm not done yet.
After a few less than 18 laps, Skylar decided he was hungry enough for dinner, but first we'd have to make a stop by the Mast Bar.
Skylar got his custom order grapefruit frozen rum drink just in time for sunset. How is it?
So while I'm sitting here enjoying my sunset drink, I do want to quickly discuss drink prices on this ship. Now, some drinks are fairly reasonable, like you can get a frozen strawberry daiquiri for $10. This drink costs me $12 and actually has a rum floater on top. But some drinks are pricier than I expected. For example, on the last Carnival cruise ship we were on, you could get a pretty good craft beer for like $8 or so. On this ship, a Budweiser costs $8, and some craft beers are like $15 or even $18. There's also a seltzer I really like on this ship called Topo Chico that will normally cost you like $4 or $5 in a bar in the States, and on this ship it costs $11. So that's something to keep in mind if you are deciding whether or not to get a drink package on your cruise.
We're here at the dinner buffet. Every night they have a different theme. Tonight it is Mediterranean night, and we are trying so many different things. We're not going to tell you everything specific, but some of the highlights that we're really excited to try include the grilled kebabs, the baba ganoush, and we're finally going to be trying their pizza.
While we show you a little bit of what could be found on the Greek-themed buffet, we do want to mention that the other dinner themes on our cruise were American, Italian, and Spanish tapas. We should also note the typical American staples, Asian dishes, breads, meats and cheeses, pasta, and pizza could be found on the dinner buffet each night.
So we're finally going to try the pizza here on the Reflection. This is a barbecue beef pizza, I think. We've been kind of avoiding it because it just doesn't look that great, and we've kind of been spoiled on our MSC cruises because their pizza is so good, but we got to give it a try. It's kind of what I expected. It's not bad by any means. Definitely edible, but there's so many other things on this buffet that are great. I'd probably skip the pizza.
So tonight, my favorite was actually the salad bar. I don't know if they typically have an extended salad bar at night or if it's just for the Mediterranean night, but it kind of reminded me of sweet tomatoes, and it was delicious. The other thing I really enjoyed was the thing that was wrapped in grape leaves. I'm not sure what it's called, and it had a spice that I'm not familiar with in it, but I really enjoyed it. Now, I was really excited to try Skylar's kebabs. They had a lot of flavor, but they were kind of dry, and knowing that there are other meats in this buffet that are much more tender, I would probably skip those in the future.
So I also did enjoy the food at the main buffet tonight, although it probably wasn't quite the quality of what we would have had in the main dining room. I would say though that the time to eat the meal here was a fraction of the time we would have spent in the main dining room, and also we really liked that we didn't have to have this meal at an assigned time.
Now, as far as my overall rating, I was pretty impressed tonight. There was a really good variety. There weren't any lines, and the buffet was playing music from one of my favorite artists that you don't hear in public places very often, so I'm going to give it a 9.
I think I probably tried about 15 different things, and there was only 3 of them that I wouldn't get again, and that was the 2 different kebabs that I had and also the pizza. Overall, I don't think I enjoyed the dinner quite as much as Jamie did, but I did think it was pretty good, and I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Now, you may have noticed that we didn't eat any desserts off of the buffet despite there being plenty of great options, as we had plans for a late night visit to the coffee shop. But first, we'd have to pay a visit to the full moon party. Now, the full moon party was a lot more popular and energetic than we expected. And while it was a lot of fun, I was more excited for bed and dessert.
For dessert, we went back to the coffee shop and got a strawberry cake, some sort of fruit tart, and 2 peanut butter cookies.
Skylar tried the tart first, and let's just say it wasn't his favorite.
I don't know if that's a good look. Gives it a 4.
While Skylar's tart definitely wasn't great, my dessert choice was much better.
I actually really like that. It's kind of like strawberry shortcake. I'll give it an 8.
So the cookie is better than the tart, but it's still not nearly as good as that strawberry thing you got, so I'll give it a 6.
We started off day 4 with breakfast in the main dining room, where we were both pretty happy to not have to deal with any crazy lines.
Good morning. We decided to skip the chaos of the breakfast buffet today and have breakfast in the main dining room instead. And even though the selection is less in the dining room than what you'll find on the buffet, the quality of the food is a little bit better because everything is made to order.
I went with the smoked salmon and over medium egg and the French toast. Because it was made to order, everything was just a little bit better when compared to the items I tried on the buffet yesterday. And this morning, the experience was much calmer, so I'm going to give it a 7.
I ordered the Eggs Benedict, the fresh fruit plate, and a side of rye toast. Now, the rye toast wasn't that great, but everything else was excellent. And I should also mention that the dining room was actually pretty busy this morning, and they did seat us directly next to another couple. Now, it ended up being just fine because they were a pretty cool couple and we got along well. But if you're looking for more privacy in your breakfast experience, you may not find it in the main dining room. But overall, I'd give my experience an 8.
After breakfast, we went to a Captain's Club event in the Sky Lounge where we enjoyed live music, received complimentary drinks and snacks, and even met the captain. We'll show you more of that experience in our upcoming cruise tour episode, but for now, we're headed back to the dining room for lunch. We're back in the main dining room for lunch. We only had breakfast a few hours ago, so we're not that hungry. We did skip out on the appetizers, but we are trying 3 different entrees.
So I ordered the teriyaki duck with shiitake mushrooms. Jamie got the pesto pasta with asparagus and artichoke. And we're also sharing the New York steak with no sides.
We just got done with our last lunch here on the Reflection. We went back to the main dining room because we hadn't yet eaten there for lunch. Now, it wasn't quite as busy as it was for breakfast, and we did get a seat right next to a window. My favorite items were the pasta and the duck. Now, the dessert wasn't quite what I expected it to be. It was described as a cobbler and came out with more of a dry granola on top, and it was pretty watery. The flavor still was pretty good, just not what I expected. So overall, I would give the experience an 8.
The duck and the pasta had to be my favorites as well. The steak came out really thin and cooked way more well done than I had ordered it, but to my surprise, it was still really tender and flavorful, so I would give the lunch experience a 9.
So today I ordered a pistachio latte with an extra shot of espresso. It did cost me $2 more, but it was worth it. This is really good.
After our afternoon coffee, we spent some time on our stateroom balcony enjoying the views and polishing off the wine we brought on board. Next, we hit the Ensemble Lounge where we enjoyed a dirty martini and some live music. By now, it was nearly time for dinner, but not before heading outside on Deck 5 to catch one last Caribbean sunset. Before we knew it, it was 8:15, which meant it was time for our final dinner on the Reflection.
I'm starting with the apple pear salad, and Skylar once again went with the escargot. Honestly, if we weren't doing this video to show you guys a variety of food, he probably would have gotten it every night. The waiter recommended the beef carpaccio, so we got one of those too. Tonight we ordered 3 entrees to share. The first one is the Cajun drumfish, then we have the short ribs and the vegetable korma.
We'll tell you about our rating for this meal and show you what we got for dessert in a bit. But first, we're going to show you some of the performance from the dining room staff on this final night of our cruise. Now getting back to our meal, we ordered the Bananas Foster and the Café de Creme, and while we didn't order this creme brulee, Dave brought it to us anyway.
We just finished up our very last dining experience here on the Reflection, and it was a really good one. I had my favorite dish of the entire cruise. It was those short ribs. They were very tender, and I love the truffle flavor. I also had one of my favorite desserts. It was the creme brulee. We didn't even order it, but I really enjoyed the texture of it, and that it wasn't too sweet. Lastly, the staff put on a show for us tonight, and it looked like they were having a really good time. So for all those reasons, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
So I'd give this final dinner an 8 out of 10. Overall, we do think that Celebrity does still offer the best dining experience of any of the major cruise lines that we've been on. Now, some cruise lines may do certain things better, but when it comes to the overall dining experience, Celebrity is going to be hard to beat. Now, if you want to see a whole lot more of what the Reflection has to offer beyond the dining experience, go ahead and check out our tour video next. Thanks for watching.